Coast that has some people up in arms over what is being called by some a partisan hit list. The claims that the Obama administration is purposely closing down dealerships that are owned by people who support the Republican Party. Is that possible? Fox News contributor and blogger Michelle Malkin joins us live right now from Denver. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
I saw the headline on your site a couple of days ago that apparently dealerships shut down in bankruptcy, mostly GOP. Could that possibly be that maybe more dealerships are simply owned by GOP?
Yeah, that's certainly true, and I raised that possibility myself about the causality and how this relationship is working. But the fact is, Steve, that there are bloggers out there, mostly on the right side of the internet, who are doing an amazing job of raising the question and sifting through the evidence. Now, of course, the entire list of nearly 800 Chrysler dealers that are targeted for closure is on the internet, and what they're doing is taking a look at public records and comparing the campaign finance histories of some of these dealers. And like I said, it's entirely possible that Republican-leaning businessmen gravitate towards this industry. But I think you have to take a look at the flip side, too, which is taking a look at the dealers who were protected, right, and whether or not there's cronyism and corruption involved. And believe me, Steve, over the last several years, we've all documented the Obama Chicago gangland tactics that certainly make this a possibility. And there are senators out there now who are pressing the White House to be more transparent about the reasons for the decisions to close some dealers and some not, especially when many of these dealers were perfectly profitable on their own.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. Some of the protected dealerships, or apparently protected, who get to keep their dealerships and franchises include former Clinton chief of staff, Mac McClarty, who owns a bunch of dealerships. They're not closing any of his down.
Yes, and let me just give a shout out to several bloggers by name who are doing work on this. Of course, Hot Air, which is my group blog, called attention to the work of people like Doug Ross and Joey Smith, who are looking into this, and they singled out several dealerships co-owned by Mac McClarty, the Clinton official who also campaigned for Obama, and Robert Johnson, who was a big Obama guy and head of the Black Entertainment Television Network. And the odds that their dealerships would be protected and all the other ones in the immediate surrounded area would not, apparently, according to Doug Ross, are very, very slim. Now, where is the rest of the mainstream media? That is the question. This is exactly the kind of thing they ought to be investigating because it has to do with our money and the government's power.
Are you
I know,
out of your
it's silly
mind?
to
Do you think the New York Times is going to touch this with a 10-foot pole? Besides, I'm sure the White House is going to deny this anyway. Besides, and it wasn't the White House that came up with the list, wasn't it Chrysler?
Yes, yeah, that's what they'll say. I just have to read here a statement from Stephen Pearlstein, who's a business columnist at the Washington Post, and he was specifically asked about this. There was a commenter on the site who referenced Hot Air, and this was Stephen Pearlstein's response. Oh, please, what % of all auto dealers are Republican? I bet it's pretty high. Well, why don't you try and find out? Where's the level of intellectual curiosity and commitment to the pursuit of truth? But no, instead, it's just scoffing. And I think there's this attitude about the blogosphere that, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. There's denigration. Hot Air was smeared, unfortunately, by the O'Reilly factor last night, when a lot of people get good information that they cannot get anywhere else. And I think that this story deserves a lot more scrutiny and attention than it's getting.
Well, I haven't heard about the O'Reilly thing, but I do look at Hot Air, so and the MichelleMalkin.com blog as well. Michelle, thank you very much for joining us today from Denver.
Thanks a lot, Steve.